What shirts do we have on today? Did you guys match?
We're live.
No, I'm Barbie. He's hashtag, and you're the jersey. Yeah.
It's the pre-show banter here. This is Friday, July 11th. There are 12 days until San Diego Comic-Con 2025. Welcome to SDConCast, the official podcast of the San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog.
VANUHTEE go. Oh my god, I love LiveJournal, and my LiveJournal loves me. Current mood is hyperactive, current music, Refuse 73. I love the color scheme, it's pink and purple, it looks dreamy.
Well, good evening, everybody. I am your host, as always, James Riley, and joining me on the podcast tonight, also, as always, Carrie Dixon.
Hey, guys.
And joining us for this special schedule podcast, what are we saying? Chaos Monster and the OG prize mule, Sarah Lacey.
And Rufus. Thank you.
And Rufus. All right, everybody, welcome to SDConCast, where we taking comments and questions throughout the show. So you can send them in to, by tweeting us at SD_comic_con, or we'll keep an eye on the YouTube live chat. We're going to mainly be going through the schedule for Thursday and Friday today, which means a lot of questions. But apparently, Carrie has things she wants to talk about first.
It's what everyone wants to talk about right now. This has been what?
The Peacemaker thing? Is that what you're going to talk about?
Yes.
It's been a day.
This has been quite the day. This has been such a long day. Oh my god. Okay, so it is this. If you are watching live right now, it is vaguely working. The site will at least kind of load. So if you have not reached a real screen, and what I mean by that is like the actual website, if you are still getting like a 404 or a Cloudflare or anything like that, or like if you are in the watermelon patch, like keep refreshing. But if you hit a real screen, do not refresh. Even if it seems like it's stalled, even if you cannot click on anything, okay? Do not refresh. If you feel the need to refresh, open up another tab and you can refresh to your heart's delight in there. And then if you do get a screen that will actually let you click on things and you fill out, spam the buttons. Like hit them like so many times that you're going to be like, this is absolutely ridiculous. And it'll take like 10 minutes to get to the next page. But I managed to get 4 tickets for some of our friends a little bit ago, and it sucked and it was horrible, but like that's how I did it. So do not refresh.
So in other words, getting tickets for this is one, not peaceful, and 2, actually making you work to get them. Testing all of our stress levels.
Yes. So do not give up hope, though. I believe in you. I do not believe so much in the Peacemaker site, but keep trying. Keep trying. All right. Let's talk about panels.
All right. So for those who haven't gone through one of these breaking down the schedules, what we do is on Thursday and Friday, we pick the biggest rooms, which is I don't know, about 6 or 7 of them. You know, the usuals: Ballroom 20, 6A, 6BCF, Hall H, 7A, Indigo, all of those. We go through the room, we read everything that's in it, and then we discuss room flow and which panels we think are going to be the clog points, the popular ones, the sit-through panels, all that kind of stuff. But let's get started, and we're going to kick it off on Thursday, of course, because there are no panels on Wednesday. It is just preview night. No more Ballroom 20 WB premieres, which is sad, but nothing going on. So on Thursday, we're going to start in room 7AB, and that is Carrie's room to read.
All right. So first things first, 7AB holds around 480 people. But things kick off in the morning at 10 a.m. with How to Build a Droid 101, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a bunch of droid builders talking you through how to build your own. At 11 a.m. is the 6th annual Hollywood Game Changers, a conversation with the women behind popular film and TV projects. And this includes behind the scenes folks from shows like The Rehearsal, like they've got their makeup artist, the makeup artist from Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and more. At 12 p.m. is the 2nd annual From Script to Screen, behind the camera of film and TV, which has, again, just a lot of behind the scenes folks. So like music composers, TV writers, directors, just talking about how you make TV. At 2 p.m. is, did I skip one? Yes, I did. At 1 p.m. is the 2nd annual Fan Favorites behind the scenes of popular film and TV shows. And again, this is a lot of behind the scenes folks from shows and movies like Agatha All Along, The Penguin, Wheel of Time, Daredevil, Born Again, and more. Then at 2 p.m. is Mondo Toy Talk Live. And this is just Mondo crew like Peter Santa Maria, Attack Peter, and more, talking about what is up with Mondo. There is a special giveaway for all attendees at the end, so that's fun. At 3 p.m. is Alien, a tabletop roleplay game live, which again is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. At 4 p.m. is the Blurred panel, which is Black Nerds. And this one has some really good people on it. It's got Yvette Nicole Brown, Malcolm Barrett from Timeless. It's got Mark Bernardin and more. And then at 5 p.m. is Rob Liefeld with the 33rd anniversary of Youngblood. At 6 p.m. is the anime company Aniplex, there to celebrate their 20th anniversary and talk about what's new with them. And at 7 p.m. is the Future of Fear, how AWA and Roy Lee's Vertigo Entertainment are exploring new frontiers in horror, which has not a giveaway. I thought that was it. And then finally at 8 is Faithful, a new Scottish fairy tale family short film, which will be premiering at Comic-Con with the some of the actors, the writers, producers. So yeah. That is 7AB.
Is anything going to fill this room up?
I don't think so. I think the Blurred panel sounds fun to me. To me, that's the biggest panel of the day because it's got some decent folks on it. But I don't know that it fills up. What's your opinion?
I don't think so. I mean, yeah, that's the one that's going to get closest to full or actually full, but I don't think that you're going to have to worry. If you show up 10 minutes before or 15 minutes before, I don't think you're going to have to worry about it. Mondo will have a decent amount of people show up, but again, I don't know if it's going to be entirely packed or not.
Yeah, I agree. And I also feel like, I don't know, I think a lot of the like diehard Mondo people, after they were bought by Funko, kind of moved elsewhere. But yeah, with 500 seats, I think you won't have a problem getting into anything in this room.
Rob Liefeld does have a large following.
He does.
So he may actually get this panel full. The issue is whether or not there's a lot of conflicts, and also this is only for Youngblood, so it's not his entire it's not Deadpool. It's not all the other things. So this one should be very popular. It's just a matter of whether or not there's a lot of other conflicts for people. But if there's not, then yeah, this one will be pretty full. It's right in that sweet spot of, later in the day where people may be looking for something to do after they get out of a panel early, and they'll head to this one.
And as always, with all of these panels, guys, like, even if we say, like, we think these will be a walk-in, but you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm a little bit worried, like, I really want to go to that, just show up a little bit early, even like 15 or 30 minutes. Especially for these small rooms, they basically just let you walk in, so you can go and sit in the back of another panel, and maybe it'll be something really cool that you've never heard of or seen before. Like, sometimes those are the most fun.
Yep.
What you're going to sit through. And it can be great or really bad.
Yep.
That's
All right.
It is the Russian roulette of panels at Comic-Con.
What is the sit-through panel?
What the fuck am I watching right now? Oh, sorry. Can I swear on here?
There is actually a panel today on the schedule called like "What the fuck am I watching?" There really is.
I want to.
All right, moving right along. What is the next room, James?
Next room is room 6DE, which seats 884, or like maybe more, maybe less. We don't know. That's what the website says. And it kicks off at 10:15 with 2 rovers, 1 planet, NASA on Mars. It's our annual NASA panel with multiple people from NASA JPL talking about Curiosity and Perseverance missions and other exciting things. At 11:30, we have DC All In, What's Next? And that features Scott Snyder, Joshua Williamson, Mark Wade, and other top DC storytellers talking about what's coming for DC. Then at 12:45, we have Spotlight on Jim Lee, which I think everyone knows who Jim Lee is. So I think we all know that this one's going to be a big one. But it is a spotlight, which means it's just Jim Lee talking about Jim Lee. At 2 o'clock, we have Minor Threats, a roundtable with Patton Oswalt and friends. And the friends include Jordan Bloom and Scott Hepburn, as well as Heath Corson, Gary Duggan, Hannah Rosemay, Dan Hernandez, J.M. DeMatteis, and Tim Heeg, and lots of people. He's got a lot of friends. Lessons from Hollywood's Rising and Established Voices is at 3:15. And this is writers and producers behind Sony Pictures Television's biggest series for a conversation on mentorship, growth, and collaborative paths. At 4:30, we have the Inside Scoop on Defiant, the graphic novel and in-production film. And this features, again, the title says it all. There's a Defiant graphic novel and an in-production film, and it's the people who are in charge of that coming to talk about it. Going through with David Dastmalchian is at 5:45. And that is, of course, actor and writer David Dastmalchian, and he's going to have some friends along who help on his latest comic book project, Kat Staggs and David Mack and Rance Horsley. And then at 7, we have Unexpected Treasures world premiere and panel. And this is the world premiere of I think it's a movie.
It is, yeah.
And it's got they got the director and the producers and a bunch of the actors that will all be there. They'll show it off, and then they will do a Q&A, and it will include a limited edition keychain for all panel attendees. And that is it for that room on Thursday. So Jim Lee's going to pack the house.
Yes, for sure.
Guaranteed. And the problem with that, of course, is that this room will start filling up from the beginning for NASA and stay full, because anyone who is there for NASA may leave, but then all the people will keep coming in for the comic panel next, the DC panel, which has some big names. And of course, it's all DC all the time. And then everyone will be waiting for Jim Lee. And then after that, I'm pretty sure it won't empty out. It may have some rotation, but it won't empty out too much because, again, it's Patton Oswalt and his group of comic people. So it's 3 great comic panels in a row. And then the room will start moving in and out for whoever wants to see that particular panel, because I'm pretty sure from that point it's going to be come and go for the panel, and there won't be any issues getting into any of the remaining panels.
I agree. Even with David Dastmalchian, I just don't think that'll be that hard to get into. But yeah, the big ones there are all right in a row. So if you wanted to go to Jim Lee, what time would you get there, James?
I honestly would sit through NASA. I would get there for NASA and just sit through 3 panels, because the DC panel is going to be popular enough that if you try and get in during the DC panel, you probably won't.
Yeah.
I assume that a lot of the DC people are comics fans enough that they will just sit through for Jim Lee, who runs DC, So I don't know. I think that's just going to be very packed and difficult to get into for the first 3 panels.
No, I agree. All right, so let's move on to room 6A. So 6A seats a little bit more, about 200 or so more, with 1,040 people, we think. And that kicks off on Thursday at 10 a.m. with the World of Tamagotchi, which is just a look at everything that Tamagotchi's got going on. But there will be giveaway items for all attendees and a chance to win prizes. And then at 11:15 is the annual Mattel WWE Elite Squad panel. They don't announce who's coming, but they always have some really good names, and it says WWE Superstar guests. So I'm sure that will be lots of fun. At 12:30 is Malcolm and Friends, in which actor and comedian Malcolm Barrett is there to bring along some famous friends like Utkarsh Shambudkar from Ghosts, Adam Stein, who's the director of the new Final Destination Bloodlines movie, and more. So there's some very good people on that panel. At 1:45 is Marvel Comics X-Men, which has their editor-in-chief, C.B. Cebulski, along with Tom Brevoort, to talk about everything that's going on in the X-Men universe in Marvel Comics. At 3 p.m. is Comics Will Break Your Heart, Coping Conversation for Fans and Creators, in which an acclaimed comic book creator and a licensed therapist lead an open conversation. I think it's interesting that they don't name names, but... at 4:15 is the superheroes behind Iron Man's suit, Superman, and the Mandalorian, and it's basically just FX folks from some big movies like Aliens, Romulus, the new Superman, Jurassic Park, and more, just talking about making superhero suits and FX. At 5:30 is Mr. Beast Lab Unlocked, which is all about his line of Mr. Beast Lab toys, the ones from Moose Toys. Mr. Beast will not be there, but he will have a video introduction. And again, it says there will be special giveaways and exclusive merchandise for attendees. At 6:45 p.m. is the Nacelle Verse Unleashed, which is mostly focused right now on their upcoming Biker Mice from Mars, and they'll just be showing off everything in their toys, comics, etc. lines. And then at 8 p.m. is the 28th annual Superhero Kung Fu Extravaganza, in which Rick Myers and the rest of that crew shows some Kung Fu movies. They do this every year. Yeah. So that is 6A on Thursday. So of these, I think you're going to get a lot of turnover, but that WWE panel is always very well attended. And I mean, Marvel X-Men, I think, will be pretty well attended. Beyond that,
giveaway, so it'll be well attended.
Yeah. Beyond that, I don't know that I think any of these other ones are going to be very hard to get into. What's your opinion?
I don't think so. Malcolm and Friends should have a decent turnout, but I don't think it's going to be packed
to the gills.
Packed full.
No.
Unless a lot of people are worried about the X-Men and getting that free comic, and a ton of them show up early, and then the Malcolm panel will be full. But if they're showing up during the panel, then you should be fine if you're there for Malcolm before the panel starts.
Yeah. No,
So I don't think otherwise this room looks like a lot of turnover, a lot of in and out. So I don't think it's really going to be too much of a hassle.
It does. Like I said, the two panels that I would be concerned about is basically Marvel and WWE. For WWE, I would probably show up at least like 30 minutes before, maybe even at the start of Tamagotchi, if you want to make sure you get in for that. And for X-Men, I would say like 30 minutes. Okay.
Next up, we're getting into the big rooms. Room 6BCF holds a little over 2,000. And it kicks off at 10:30 with Funko. Welcome to the Thunderdome. And this has some pretty good names in it. It's got Nathan Fillion, Devorah Wild, John Bailey, and Jenna Davis. And then...
Wait. Not to be confused with Jonathan Bailey. I feel like
No.
I think they would.
No, definitely not Jonathan Bailey of
there's
Wicked and Bridgerton.
That could be Jonathan Bailey, but it's not.
It is not. It says Marvel Rivals in parentheses after his name. So no.
At 11:45, it's a Miraculous, the next chapter, and that's the creative team including co-creator Jeremy Zag and some actors, some voice talent to talk about Miraculous. Then at 1 p.m., Robert Kirkman live at SDCC, and that is, of course, Robert Kirkman, talking about Robert Kirkman and all the things he's involved in. It'll include a world premiere announcements and exclusive giveaway surprises, yes, plural, for every attendee. So that's pretty cool. At 2:15, we have Lego Ninjago, The Adventure Continues, and that is the Ninjago team talking about the upcoming cartoons and whatever else they're doing with Ninjago. At 3:30, Batman Azteca, Choca de Imperios. That was Clash of the Empires, and it's all about, I don't even know what this is. It's got the cast and creative team of an animated movie. So there you go.
It's from Warner Brothers Animation. This got announced like 30 minutes before the panel schedule went up, and I was also very confused. But yeah, it's from Warner Brothers Animation, so I think it's a big deal.
There you go. At 4:45, we have Marvel Cosmic Invasion Deep Dive, a nostalgia-driven approach to your favorite characters. This looks like it's a game, possibly. Yeah, it's a game that's coming later this year. Then at 6, we have Marvel Rivals, Meet the Cast, and this is a game, and it is out now, and you can meet and see some of the people who play the characters in the game. At 7:15, we have Gundam Showcase featuring 30 years of Gundam Wing, and this is celebrate the legacy of Gundam Wing with the English cast, new visuals, and surprise reveals, and more. Okay, so this room does seat over 2,000 people, but it's got some big names, and it's going to move some people forward.
How is Funko in this room? I don't understand. We all thought it would be in Hall H, so for it to be in 6 BCF is
a third the size, less than a third the size.
It is frankly shocking. I think this has been the biggest surprise, like, on the panel schedule.
I mean, Nathan Fillion can kind of fill a 2,000 seat room on his own, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this one. There's going to be a line for this one first thing, and if you manage to make it in, and you are wanting to see Robert Kirkman, I don't know how much of a changeover there will be from Funko to Kirkman, but I'm betting that if you get in line during Funko and sit through Miraculous, you'll be fine for Kirkman.
Agreed. I think a lot of people will clear out after Funko.
I think so, yeah. So, yeah, I think just make sure that you are beating the crowd that is going to be getting in for Kirkman. They're going to be showing up during the Miraculous panel. So just beat them. That's all you got to do is beat that big group that shows up, in the half hour, 40 minutes before the Kirkman panel.
Yeah.
I think, roughly. I mean, whatever that may be for you. If you want to be there during Funko, if you want to get there and try and get into Funko so you can be there for Funko too, go ahead. But, definitely get there early enough for Kirkman. And everything else, Rivals is big right now.
Rivals is big, and Gundam is too. But I honestly think both of those being later panels just in general tend to have like less turnout.
Yeah.
And remember,
go ahead.
Even sit through a panel, if it's not your thing, you might get swag. And you never know. It might be your thing later.
That is true. That has happened to us all.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So up next is Indigo Ballroom, which is you, Sarah. That one seats.
I'll do it. It seats 2,663-ish people.
Ish. As you give a very exact number. Okay.
We don't know. There is an exact number, but you guys keep saying we don't really know. So anyway, it is the 11th annual musical anatomy of a superhero and other heroes, featuring award-winning composers Ryan Lott, Laura Karpman, Brandon Roberts, Mick Giacchino, and Michael Giacchino. And I've sat through one of these. Well, I didn't sit through. I enjoyed one of these before, and they were very good. This is a good
Yeah.
panel at 10 a.m. Sorry. And then after that, at 11:15, we have the Critical Role, which I know is a big thing for people. And it features Laura Bailey, Matthew Mercer, Marisha Ray, Liam O'Brien, Ashley Johnson, blah, 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 bunch more people. And yay. At 12:30, we have The Hellaverse on Prime. This is the prime time, I guess. Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss Cast featuring Vivian Medrano, Erica Henningson, Amir Talia, Brandon, for whatever that is. You guys listen.
Okay, look. Husband Hotel is huge. Okay, like it has a massive following.
What is it? Is it a game?
It really does. No, it's like
Is it
it's an
the-
animated show. It's more, I think, like adult animation kind of.
Weird like ads for it. I feel like I've seen weird ads for it, and I thought it was one of those weird games that they're advertising all the time. But
No, it's definitely an animated show.
Okay.
Most of what I know about Husband Hotel is that it has a massive following.
okay,
who
I'm
are
sorry.
Very
Don't hate
dedicated.
I love you for loving it. I just don't know any of it. I did not prepare for this.
It's fine.
At 1:45, Hallmark Hall Stars. Oh, so this could be fun if you guys love like those like Hallmark movies. Hallmark Media, Kyler Lee, BJ Britt, Holland Roden, Teen Wolf, what? Luke McFarlane, Aaron Calhill, and more from all like the beloved Hallmark movies, the Christmas movies. That seems fun. And they're gonna show some behind the scenes and some scoops of the new ones. Hosted by moderated by Damien Holbrook, who he's a good moderator. And then we have at 3 p.m. NCIS, Tony and Ziva for some reason.
I mean, that's fair. Let's be honest. That's fair.
So it's got producers, Cody DiPablo, Michael Weatherly, which he's like in the NCIS. Oh, no, wait, it doesn't say they're there. It just says they're executive producers. So they might not be there because he's like the main guy. He's like an actor on that show, right?
He was
Michael
on
Weatherly.
the original. Yeah.
It doesn't say that the cast, they'll be there, but
Yeah, it says join series stars.
yeah,
So, but it doesn't actually name. Yeah.
I'm assuming
But I mean, there's a signing for them. So, like, let's be honest. Yeah.
Okay. 4:15, we have Blues Brothers, The Escape of Jolette Lake. With this has some names: Luke Pisano, James Werner, Stella Aykroyd, and some other people, and then Dan Aykroyd.
I think that's huge.
That's pretty good. That's pretty big, yeah. And then 5:30, Penn and Teller. You know what that is.
That's also cool.
Yeah, it is. I think the end there is going to be pretty cool. Honestly, there's actually probably quite a bit. I feel like NCIS probably that's a big fan base.
I don't. It is, but I don't know that it's like the Comic-Con fan base. But maybe. I think that there are absolutely things that can pack this room. First of all, Critical Role is normally over in Ballroom 20, so this is definitely a smaller room. So I think that will pretty easily fill up, especially with Husband Hotel after it, because again, that show is huge. And then I don't know. I think the last two panels could get pretty full because I think like if I had nothing else to do on a Thursday, I think I could do a whole lot worse than Dan Aykroyd and some magic.
Seriously,
You know?
this room, I think, is the most esoteric grouping of panels that I have seen that I actually would not mind sitting through this entire day in this room.
Agreed.
a
I think this is
single
a
panel.
great lineup.
Yeah, there's not a single panel in this room all day that I'd be like, I don't really want to see this. I think I would enjoy every single one of them.
Agreed. So yeah, again, like if you have some open spots on Thursday, like honestly, I'm with James. Like I think this is the room to beat. And I'm a ballroom 20 kid. But
So-
Indigo is stacked. Yeah.
So basically, if you want to see something in this especially
Yeah.
critical role and has been, plan ahead, be there hours. I mean,
Yeah.
at least a panel or two ahead of time.
Yeah. I would say
This
2 to 3 hours ahead minimum, honestly.
is
And on go ahead.
this is 100%, since it's its own thing, that you can pay attention to social media to see what the line is like throughout the early morning to see if you need to go get in line earlier than you planned.
Agreed. So on this note, real quick, I want to go back to the last room. What we did not discuss is if you want to get into Funko, how early would you line up before Funko? I would do the same, like 2 or 3 hours before, just to. I mean,
Yeah.
it's in a pretty small room. If it does not get moved, I think even though Funko is definitely not as popular as it was a couple years ago, like it's still Funko. It's still going to be huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is Indigo. So moving right along, we have Ballroom 20, which is about double the size at around 4,800. So let's look at Ballroom 20. Things start off in the morning with Nickelodeon's Avatar, The Last Airbender 20th anniversary. And even though panel is not listed on here, I wrote it down. It will be hosted by Janet Varney, who is Korra. Then the panel will reunite original voice cast members Zach Tyler Eisen, who played Ong, Jack Desana, Michaela Jill Murphy, Jenny Kwan, Dante Basco, and D. Bradley Baker, alongside series composers, the creators, and more. So that's definitely going to be big because Avatar is big, and this is a really big anniversary for them. At 11:15 is the now annual Dragon Prince panel, where they give you an inside look at the upcoming season. At 12:30 is One Piece, the Egghead Arc dub world premiere with Colleen Clickenbeard, who is the English dub voice of Monkey D. Luffy. This is the world premiere of Egghead Arc Part 2 in the English dub. Yep. And then at 1:45 is another Critical Role panel. So I guess there's two. I don't even think I realized that. This one has Ashley Johnson, Marisha Ray, Taliesin Joff, Matthew Mercer, Laura Bailey, Travis Willingham, Sam Riegel, and Liam O'Brien. So pretty much everybody. And then at 3 o'clock is Peacock's Twisted Metal for a look at the upcoming second season. And that has some big names, including Anthony Mackie, as well as Stephanie Beatrice, who was on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Joe Cianoa, and Anthony Kerrigan. And then at 4:15 p.m. is The Strangers Chapter 2, which is the upcoming horror movie with stars Madeline Petch from Riverdale and Gabriel Basco and more. And then at 5:30 is Forging a Legend. Red Sonja rides again on the big screen. And again, this one has some fun folks, including Matilda Lutz and Robert Sheehan, which excites a certain population, which is me. Who was in Umbrella Academy, and that will actually be moderated by Felicia Day, and they also say a few giveaways. And then the night closes out at 6:45 with Collider Ladies Night After Dark, the women of the IFC Entertainment Group, which is Collider's Perry Nemiroff, as she interviews some fun folks, including Katie Douglas and Hassie Harrison, who will be in Clown in a Cornfield and Dangerous Animals, as well as Whistles, Daphne Keene, and Sophie Nalise. And it'll be your very first look at Alexandra Shipp in Forbidden Fruits and Violent Ends, with other guests still to be announced.
It's a packed day.
It is a packed day. I think One Piece is the one to beat. One Piece is so big. And I think this is a really big deal. This is like the biggest. I don't even think, has One Piece ever even been to the convention? I don't think it has. Maybe it has. Avatar is going to be big. Critical Role will be pretty big. And I think those are really like the panels that are going to fill up. Don't you?
Why would they have two? I feel like it's mean to have two Critical Role panels in two different rooms back to back. What the fuck? Sorry.
Well, I mean, look, it gives you two chances to make it to a panel.
But like they can't run from one to the other.
Yeah,
But you
it's pretty
can
hard.
pick. If you like the stuff in Indigo, you can see them there. If you like the stuff in Ballroom 20, you can see them there. It's you don't get to see them twice, but you do get to see them where you wouldn't if they only had one panel in one room.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look on the positive side.
Rushed.
All right, so
Okay.
if you wanted to make it in for Avatar, how early would you get in line?
A couple hours. I think.
Yeah, I would.
People from
Yeah,
the
I would. I agree. If I wanted to make it in for Avatar, honestly, like I would get there probably no later than 90 minutes or so before, and maybe even like 2 hours before, just to be safe. And then for One Piece, honestly, like I would plan to be in that room from the start of the day. Like sit through Avatar, stay through One Piece, and then you can stay or go would be my suggestion. And then the good news is for the Critical Role people is that I bet a lot of folks leave after One Piece. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. So I
Gotta run away from Bayfront to Ballroom. No problem.
book it.
yeah, even if 1,000 people stay after One Piece, that still leaves 3,000 seats available, over 3,000 seats. So you're going to be fine if a lot of even if not everyone leaves out of One Piece. And then nothing else that day is really going to be like so packed that you have to really worry about it. Twisted Metal may be a little popular, but I don't know if it's going to fill up near 5,000 seats.
I don't think it will. I mean, it's got some really fun people in it. So the good news is, again, is that like if you were fans of any of these things or any of these people, I think anything after Critical Role will be pretty much a walk-in or like show up 30 minutes before, especially for Ballroom 20. Like I would never assume it's truly just a walk-in, like because a lot of times they'll hold you before a panel anyway. So I think it's always best in general for this room to plan to show up at least like 30 minutes before.
Yeah, because the bigger the room gets, the longer the actual process of the line takes. So always factor that in. Like, in 5A, you're standing outside the room and down the hall. In Ballroom 20, you're outside and then all the way down the hall away from it, and they may not be letting you in. Like you said, you can sit there 10 minutes before, and you have to wait till the end of like the next panel before you can get in.
Yep. So yeah, don't plan on showing up just when it starts. All right, let's do the last room on Thursday. Tell us what is in Hall H.
The big boy, 500-ish. I don't know if that's ish or accurate, but it's a very even number compared to the other ones. We have 11 a.m. Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which is probably a big thing. We have the all the series stars and the executive producers, and there's going to be some behind the scenes and all of that. I think that'll be good. At 12:15, we have another panel that probably shouldn't be in Hall H, but it's Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias and Joe Coy panel, which they're basically just doing a Q&A. But there's going to be a giveaway.
I'm sorry, but like flip that and Funko. Like, what are we doing here?
Like, yeah, those are big names, but not Hall H on Thursday. Whatever.
Someone in our chat pointed out that Funko may have said like we'll give away 2,000 items, not 6,500. So maybe that's literally
that makes sense. That makes sense. But and then we have Hide When Worlds Collide, or when I don't know when movies collide. And that is Mr. Hyde and Ridley Scott have joined forces for blah, blah, blah. You can read it. It's got a bunch of people in it. Read it yourself. And That's at 1:30. At 2:45, we have Collider's directors on directing. This one, I like Rob Reiner and Paul Feig. Need I say more? We have Blue Houses, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and it just says moderated by Juju Green or AKA Straw Hat Goofy, but it doesn't say. Is there
It
anybody?
doesn't say. Yeah, we don't know who's there
But
yet.
it
But
could
I
be.
mean, I think this is going to be huge. I mean, it's Five
Okay.
Nights at Freddy's. Like,
Well, and then it's at 5:30, The Toxic Avenger, Unrated and Radioactive, which I hear is a remake of a thing.
okay, so we do know cast for this one. This one has some really good people on it. This
Oh.
one has Troma co-founder Lloyd Kaufman, as well as cast Peter Dinklage, Elijah Wood, Jacob Tremblay, and Taylor Page. So, and there's also limited edition swag for the panel that I'm sure will be fun.
That's a good one. And then at 6:45, we have Comedy Central's Adult Animation, South Park, Beavis and Butthead, and Digman with Trey Parker, Matt Stone, Mike Judge, and Andy Samberg. That's a big name.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay. So first off, let's make sure everybody understands when we're talking about Hall H, we're talking about getting in the room.
Yes.
We're not talking about those people who want to be in the very front. You have your own methods and you know what you're doing. If you want to get in the front, you know what you're doing. This is just for people who want to get into the room to see the thing that they want to see. So let's go. First thing right off the bat.
Yeah, do we think anything actually fills up with 6,500 people?
I don't know. Is Percy Jackson that popular right now? I mean, a lot of people want to see it.
I don't think it's 6,500 big. I will say a lot of people in the chat were criticizing me and going, Fluffy has sold out Dodger Stadium twice. And I'm very sure that he has, but is that the Comic-Con crowd? I don't know.
there's not much else though on Thursday that's like that big of a draw unless it's your specific thing. So I could see some of this.
I think, in my opinion, like the big things in here for me are Five Nights at Freddy's and the Toxic Avenger. We know there's some good people in the Toxic Avenger. Elijah Wood, Peter Dinklage, those are big names. And Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, horror is like king of Comic-Con this year, and I love it. So this is, in my opinion, a big deal. If I wanted to go for those panels, I would probably plan to show up like an hour, maybe 90 minutes early. Because again, Hall H takes so long to like load and unload that just showing up like 5 minutes beforehand sometimes does not work out well.
You never know.
Here's my thoughts. If you are one of the people who thinks that the Iglesias Joe Coy panel is going to be massive, go at night and get a wristband. And then just show up the next one. Don't stay in line. You don't need to be at the front, right? You go get your wristband at some point on Wednesday night.
Wednesday night. Yeah.
You go get your wristband. You come back before the time, which I think is 7 a.m. So you got to be in line before 7 a.m. or 7:30, whatever it is. You get in line. You get into the room. You're good to go. You have to sit through one panel. That's it. And you see your panel, and you don't have any worries, and you haven't spent a massive amount of time. The problem with showing up early on Thursday morning is if the Iglesias Joe Coy panel is as massive as some people think it may be, it's going to be packed. And if you get in line at 6:30 or 7 without a wristband, you may not get in. It's just who knows. So. Yeah. If you're really worried, get that wristband and just show up at half an hour before the time to come back, and you'll be fine because you'll get in for the first panel and you sit through.
Okay, so let's press pause on this because Buddy the Elf just asked a very important question, which is, can you please explain the whole wristband thing? This is my first time at Comic-Con. So let's explain what that even is.
Okay.
So first of all, First of all, we have a really extensive guide on our site that we put together this year that does break it all down. So I would definitely go check that out. But James, why don't you take it away?
So they will announce the times to start handing them out and the location, which is usually behind the convention center along the walkway along the harbor. There is a next day line flag where at a certain point in time, they will start handing out wristbands for the next day. It's the next day line. Those wristbands will be lettered A, B, C, D, and that is not this is the order we let you in. This is so we know where we're at for like how many wristbands we've handed out.
So each letter basically represents like 1/4 of the total number of wristbands receipts. But again, it's not like if you have an A wristband, like you automatically are going to be like in the first 1/4 of the room for the reasons James is about to explain.
So there's multiple options you can do once you get your wristband. First of all, the rules for waiting in line are you can hold your spot for up to 2 other people. So that means if you're in line and you have friends, only 2 friends can join you. If you have 5 friends, you're going to need 3 of you to stay? 2 of you to stay?
2 of you to stay because you can each hold space for however many.
For 2 others. So you just need to plan it out based on numbers and always keep that many people in line minimum to hold those spaces. Once you have your wristband, your choice is stay in line, remembering the rule of how many people you have to keep in line to hold your spot for that many people. Or 2, you can leave the line and go enjoy whatever you want to do, including the hotel room you've paid for. That is very expensive, and sleep on a bed and come back the next morning before the time they say that you're supposed to be there in order to get back in. Now, you just get back in at the back of the line, but the wristband guarantees you entrance into the room for the first panel.
And for the record, usually the return time is 7:30 a.m. They will post the return times probably, I don't know, like Monday maybe. But yeah, so again, your options are once you have that wristband, you can either keep enough people in line so that some of you can go and sleep and then take shifts so long as you've got enough folks in line, or you can leave the line completely and just come back before 7:30 a.m. But you are joining the end of the line, the end of the wristbanded line, not like wherever you were previously if you did not keep enough people to save your spot.
Right.
So,
and so this just as a general rule this year, at this point in time, there is nothing that we've seen that is worth sleeping overnight. Again, unless you're a front of the room person. That's the only reason.
I don't know, James. I think Sunday's panel announcement might have possibly changed that. But I don't think anything on Thursday or Friday has. No.
So, yeah. So I don't think sleeping is going to be the option that most people choose this year. So.
No. And again, like, especially keep an eye. Social media is so important at the con. Like, I cannot tell you how many times, like, especially in later years where we're posting about like 7 a.m., like they're still on C wristbands. And what that means is like, if you were interested in one of these panels, like there are tons of seats, get on over to Hall H. You didn't have to like work very hard. Like you can, that way, like you're going to make it in. So definitely keep on social media.
Marvel was walk-in last year.
I don't know that it was walk-in, but it was definitely like you could get in with like an hour or 2 wait. Yeah.
There are seats in the back. That's on them if it's not walk-in. But it could have been.
Yeah, but no, we absolutely know people who lined up last year at like 11 a.m. and still easily made it into Marvel. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, and nothing in here is Marvel sized.
I think that we did not know it would be the Marvel panel as it was. Just FYI.
So this room is going to have a lot of ins and outs. I don't think that there's going to be too much holdover. It's interesting because I think that the Rob Reiner Paul Feig panel
I think that's amazing.
I mean, this is 2 legends who have directed some of the funniest movies ever, and to hear them talk about the craft would be awesome. But it's not the super cool, awesome stuff that a lot of people in Hall H are expecting, which is trailers
Yes.
and cast and all those kinds of things. So it is definitely going to be the downside of the room. It'll be the dip in the room. So if you want anything after that, if you want Five Nights at Freddy's, you're probably going to have to sit through the Collider panel or get there at the very beginning of that panel to make sure you can actually get into the room at some point during it. Again,
it'll be a great panel. Like, it's Rob Reiner. We all love Rob Reiner.
So I mean, again, this is the room where you need to pay attention to social media the most, I think, because there will be plenty of people talking about how long the lines are, what the status is of the room, pictures from inside the room, all that kind of thing. So you will be able to keep an eye on it, and if there's something you want to see, you can go right on ahead.
Okay, real quick, I want to address, there are several people talking about, like, what if there's a surprise screening? So obviously last year, Thursday, we got the Deadpool and Wolverine screening.
Yeah.
We all think, we're all still optimistic for something about Fantastic Four this year. However, the cast is in New York on Thursday. So if they do something at the convention, I do not think it's going to be Thursday. Like,
also, when
logistically, that does not work.
Also, last year when they posted the schedule, the last panel ended like at 5 o'clock, and then there was or 4 o'clock, and then there was nothing listed officially. So this one has something.
No, I think it said. Didn't it say TBA? I think it said TBA.
I don't think there was anything there at first.
I think it said TBA. Yeah. Maybe not though. Maybe
anyway, someone asked a question. Can you get into Hall H for a later time, like 5 p.m. without a wristband, or do you need a wristband to get into Hall H? That is only for the first panel of the day. Entry for the first time in that morning, that's what the wristbands are for, is guaranteed entry in the morning. From that point on, after they let in everyone with the wristbands, it's first come, first serve for the rest of the day.
Yeah. At Comic-Con, they do not clear rooms between panels, just so anyone unfamiliar knows.
Unless they do, which they do for a very few select things, including a special screening.
Right.
But yeah.
Not a panel. That was a ticketed event.
Yeah, to me, that's like an event. That's not like a normal panel. Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Okay. So before we move on to our Dark Horse picks, I just kind of want to know, what do we think of the Thursday schedule?
It's got a lot of good stuff. As we mentioned, the Indigo room there's a lot of good panels I would love to sit down and watch. No doubt about it, in almost every room. So I think it's a good start. There's a lot of comics panels. There's just something for everybody. So I think the proliferation of I don't know. There's some panels that have started to like creep up into higher and higher numbers that maybe aren't going to be to everyone's taste, like the lawyer panels and things like that. There was only a few at first, and now there's a bunch. So it just depends on if they're getting well attended, if people like them. But overall, I really like the schedule.
I think this is one of the better Thursday schedules that we've had in a long time. I mean, I know people are sad that like some of the what we would consider like bigger movies aren't coming, but I'm like, there is so much talent like all over the place. Like there's so many fun things. I mean, again, even things like the Dan Aykroyd panel, like I think that's amazing. I think Toxic Avenger is great. I think Five Nights at Freddy's is great. I think Ballroom 20 and Indigo both have like stacked panels. I think this is a great Thursday. Yeah.
That day.
Yeah, I agree. I still think Funko is in too small of a room, but otherwise, I think this is a great lineup.
If I can't have my Thursday TV like lineup on at Ballroom 20, like USA, that was good.
I know. Blue Sky Entertainment, God, I miss their programming. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just so many fun things that are happening on this day. It's pretty incredible.
I think it's great. Okay, so let's talk about our Dark Horse picks. So these are panels in smaller rooms that we did not just talk about that we think might be worth your time. Sarah, why don't you actually kick us off?
I picked Jurassic Park. Liability for dinosaur attacks never goes extinct. I'm sorry. It's the stupidest.
These
gag.
are fun. No,
This is clearly a bunch of judges who I want to go to Comic-Con.
there's the doctors, like both of them put together panels every year.
I love
But
it.
they're fun. They're fun.
I would totally. It's in Grand 12 and 13 in Marriott, and it's just lawyers talking about like the law stuff of
Yeah. Let's just read this
dinosaur
real
DNA be
quick.
patented. Could Jurassic Park be insured? Would parents sue for children left in camp to fend for themselves against dinosaurs? Could injured guests sue as a class action?
No, I think it's awesome. No, like I said, the lawyers, it's the legal geeks basically, and our friends who do like a medical podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was the thing that the lawyer, I had picked this earlier, and then James said, kind of thing. I love it.
All right, James, do you want to give yours?
Sure. Mine is TMNT Toys in, I think it's the same room, Grand 12 and 13 in the Marriott Marquis. It's at 1 p.m. And it's such a small room for Paramount to be giving an exclusive reveal of upcoming Turtles toys, including Playmates, NECA, McFarlane toys, and more. And they're expecting to have surprises and giveaways. So if you are interested at all in Turtles toys, which Turtles toys have been going since the 80s. And so they're so popular. So if you are interested at all in those, get to this room. It is going to be small. It's going to be probably packed. So it's going to be fun.
So you guys over in Marriott Grand 12 and 13. I am over in Marriott Grand 10 and 11. Ooh. For Dress for Deception, iconic costumes from Marvel's Agatha All Along, which basically has a bunch of the costume designers talking about the different costumes from the series, which I think sounds really fun. But that is from 3 to 4 p.m. And then I did just want to give a shout out to our buddies Mark Evanier as well as Gary Sassaman. Gary is bringing back his Tales from My Spinner Rack Live. He's done this now at Comic-Con a couple times, as well as WonderCon, but this year's iteration is focused on Fantastic Four, and it's basically just him and Mark Evanier and John Morrow looking back at the history of the comics. They will, I think they're giving away a button to each attendee, and if you like either of those guys or the original Fantastic Four comics, that should be a fun time. That is at 12 p.m. in room 9. Okay.
All right. That means we're moving on to Friday, right?
Yep.
Holy bull. Okay. So we're starting at Friday. We're going back to the smallest room again that we cover, which is room 7AB, seats 480. And this is the Star Wars room for the day. Kicks off at 10 a.m. with Lucasfilm Publishing, Stories from a Galaxy Far, Far Away. Features authors like Tessa Gratton, Kevon Scott, George Mann, and Charles Soule, talking about all of the things in publishing. But then at 11, a Lucasfilm high-end Star Wars collectibles, which features Lucasfilm's Brian Merton to talk about all the high-end collectibles that are coming from Star Wars and Lucasfilm. At noon, Star Wars and More Movie Memories with Craig Miller, who was one of the guys who ran the original Star Wars fan club. And he just talks about all the marketing things from the 80s, like Empire and Superman and The Thing and Kroll. And basically, he's been around for a long time, and he's got a lot of stories about what went on back then. At 1 p.m., we have Star Wars books from Random House Worlds. And that features a bunch of editors and authors, again, like Charles Soule, talking about Star Wars publishing. At 2, Hasbro Star Wars panel. It's toys. It's Star Wars toys, talking about toys. At 3, we have 3D printing the Star Wars universe. And that is basically talking about making your own stuff by 3D printing to make it able to where you can have Star Wars costuming and props and things of your own. At 4 p.m., we have Star Wars trading card collecting. That is exactly what it's going to be, talking about collecting trading cards that are Star Wars. At 5 p.m., the Saga Museum of Star Wars Memorabilia. And this features Steve Sansweet, the founder of Rancho Obi-Wan, and features others like Gus Lopez and Duncan Jenkins and some board members to discuss the history and background of their memorabilia collections. And then at 6, the 501st Legion Star Wars Villainous Costuming. And it is a bunch of Legion members talking about creating their costumes. At 7, This Is Our Way, Mandalorians, Inclusion, and Adaptive Costuming. And this is members of the Mando Mercs Costume Club talking about embracing disabilities in the Star Wars universe and our own. And at 8 p.m., we have the Dad Batch podcast, Walking Workbench. And that is the members of the podcast diving into the cosplay scene at Comic-Con as they bring the costuming community together to share tips and tricks. And then finally at 9 p.m., the Star Wars Trivia Party with hosts Richard and Sarah Woloski. And they will have Leilani Shu from The Mandalorian and Obi-Wan Kenobi to do a 3rd annual Competition of Chaos event with trivia and prizes. It's a lot of Star Wars.
No Star Wars at all. Yeah.
Jeez.
All right. So what that means is,
if you like Star Wars, you're in this all day.
Yeah, that also means there's not going to be a lot of turnover because, like, odds are if you like Star Wars books, you probably like Star Wars trading cards and other books and toys and
I feel like half the room will be full at all times, and then half the room will be coming and going depending on what's their favorite part of the fandom or if they have other things they want to do. But I don't think that the room will ever be like overly packed, except for maybe Hasbro is very popular because of the toys and seeing new reveals.
You don't think so? I feel like we had like 3 people in our chat talking about like this room is always too small. Like,
it could be. I mean, it is Star Wars. I mean, come on. So it could be full. I've never been in there to see how full it gets, but I still feel that there will be turnover, but there won't be like the whole room won't empty ever. I don't think.
Maybe. If you want to go to something in this, just hang and said there is always a line outside all day.
There you go.
So if you want to show up for this, I would probably get in line. Like, honestly, like if I wanted to see something in here, I would probably plan to be in here all day. Again, like if you're a Star Wars fan, odds are probably pretty strong that you want to stay for the whole thing. If you truly only want to see one panel, I would get there probably like at least 90 minutes before.
Yeah. And it only holds barely 500, so it is a small room. Smaller room.
Yeah. Okay, so on to 6DE. This one holds about 884. And we kick things off in the morning at 10 a.m. with the Hasbro G.I. Joe panel, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's Hasbro showing off what's next in their G.I. Joe line. At 12:30 p.m. is Actors Turned Comic Writers, which has some very fun folks, including Patton Oswalt, Utkarsh Ambudkar from Ghosts, Amy Garcia from Lucifer and Dexter, and more. And it's basically just actors talking about writing comics. At 1:45 p.m. is the 75th anniversary panel for Peanuts, which has a whole lot of folks from the Charles Schultz Museum, as well as people in charge of Peanuts Worldwide Now. That's going to be moderated by TV Guide's Damian Holbrook. At 3 o'clock is Comixology.
You just skipped right over the special guest in that panel.
Did I?
You did.
Who's the special guest? Is Stoopy coming? I don't even remember this.
Alec Baldwin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Alec Baldwin will be there to discuss lasting power of Charles M. Schultz's seminal work and his indelible characters. So, there you go. At 3 o'clock, it's Comixology Lights, Camera, Comics, which has actor Thomas Jane, as well as Mark Bernardin and more, talking about what's new with Comixology. At 4:15 p.m. is Godzilla at 70. I think this one's going to be really big. This has folks across, basically, if you're into Godzilla stuff, this has people from the toy companies like Super 7, from Mondo, from Bandai, and then this is huge, is Shinji Higuchi, the director from Shin Godzilla, will also be there. And then at 5:30 is WOW, which is Women of Wrestling, on female representation in sports and discovering new talent, which is basically just, it's the co-owners of Women of Wrestling talking about some topics on women's wrestling. At 6:45 is Mega 64 for their annual panel, where the gang talks all about creating gaming content, and they're going to show us some sneak peeks of things. And then at 8 p.m., I feel like this is maybe like the third year we've had this panel, is Bat in the Sun, the completion of White Dragon, and the return of the Superpower Beatdown, where we get a look at the legend of the White Dragon, which was the final film of Power Rangers star Jason David Frank. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Godzilla panel looks big.
I think the Godzilla panel is huge. I think the Godzilla panel is bigger than the Peanuts panel. I love Peanuts, and maybe I'm wrong, and Alec Baldwin is a bigger draw. But I don't know. I feel like there's just more to learn and see at Godzilla than the Peanuts panel. But again, maybe I'm wrong.
And the Godzilla panel is it going to have? Yeah, they're going to have giveaways as well. So
yeah,
if they're having reveals, giveaways, and guests that they haven't announced, it's probably going to be pretty big. And
again, the director of Shin Godzilla, like, I think this is huge.
Yep. I guess you're just going to have to. I'd show up during Peanuts, honestly, and sit through.
I would too. Yep.
Comicsology to get the Godzilla.
I would too. I would show up at the beginning of Peanuts, sit through both those, and then get your panel. I don't think, like, if you're worried about Peanuts, I would show up maybe like 30, 45 minutes early. And I'm not sure how well attended that Hasbro G.I. Joe panel is, but my guess is that it probably like doesn't completely fill up the room.
And even if it does, that people are going to be there for the toys and then head out, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's about it there.
Okay, so up next we have 6A for James.
6A features, it has a little over 1,000 capacity, and it starts at 10:30 with Revival from Comics to TV. And that's Revival creators Tim Seeley, Mike Norton, and some of the cast talking about the upcoming TV adaptation of Revival. And then at 11:45, we have Let's Write a Choose Your Own Adventure story. And that is features Choose Co. CEO and publisher and Kazim Ali, an author, to talk about writing Choose Your Own Adventures. And then at 1, we have Inside the McFarlane Toys Multiverse, and Mr. Todd McFarlane himself will be there to talk about it. Then 2:15, we have Marvel Fanfare with C.B. Sapolsky. So he's the editor-in-chief of Marvel, and some panelists will join him to talk about some behind-the-scenes stuff at Marvel, things like that, upcoming things, comic book anecdotes, and there will be an exclusive giveaway at the end. And then at 3:30, he sticks around for Marvel Comics' Next Big Thing, and is joined by Tom Brevoort and Will Moss, and a lineup of superstar creators to give a glimpse into the future of the Marvel Universe in comics. And again, another special comic giveaway. At 4:45, World Building, a conversation with Ronald D. Moore. And that is just Ronald Moore talking about creating shows and all the stories of Hollywood. He did this at WonderCon this year, and I was able to catch, I think, on half of that panel, and it was really interesting and fun to listen to. He has some good stories. And then at 6, we have Step Right Up for the Amazing Digital Circus, which is a YouTube sensation now also on Netflix, and it features some of the voices talking about that. And then at 7:15, we have the 50th anniversary of Steven Spielberg's Jaws. And this is just basically talking about Jaws and the legacy with a few of the panelists. And then at 8:30 is the annual Dr. Horrible screening and Horrible karaoke, which means you can sit down and watch Dr. Horrible and sing along. And that's it.
Okay, so what do we think about room flow for this day?
Not a whole lot in the middle there with all those comics panels. That's basically just going to be 1,000 people sitting there through probably 3 panels. Easy.
Yep, I think so too. And I would not count out the Amazing Digital Circus, honestly. I feel like they actually have a huge following. It's not our world, but I feel like they have a massive following. I can see Sarah nodding her head, going, yeah, they really do.
So get there really early, like really early. I mean, you're going to have to sit through a couple panels if you want to see the Marvel panels. I don't think anybody's going to leave after McFarlane, and they're just going to sit through the next 2 to, even if they are just mildly interested in the Marvel, what's happening at Marvel, they're going to want to get those free comics because those free comics are always really cool. So I don't know. It'll be tough. I mean, if you want to see McFarlane, do you suggest just getting there for the first panel? Or show up during the second one?
I don't know. I think you would probably be okay to show up like at the start of the second one. I think Revival will be well attended. I don't know that it will completely like totally fill up the room, but I definitely think the Revival crowd is not going to sit in that room. So I think they're all going to leave. So like if you want to get in, to me, like the time to show up is basically when they're making a mass exodus.
Okay. So yeah, near the end of Revival, show up and go from there.
Yeah.
All right. And then after that, like you said, maybe Digital Circus will fill the room, but there will be a lot of turnover. So, if you show up again during Ronald Moore, you should get into Digital Circus.
Yeah.
And I don't know how big the Dr. Horrible screenings are these days, but if you're worried about that at all, I think that late at night, I think it's going to be no problem.
I think it's fine. Yeah. Again, night panels are just never as well attended. All right. So that takes us over to Indigo. Sarah, take it away.
Wait, you skipped a whole room.
Skip the room.
You skipped
the room, Carrie.
All right. I skipped my room.
I mean, that's fine. I can go, but I wait.
No, I skipped my room. All right, so let's do 6 BCF here. Things kick off at 10:15 a.m. with Marvel Rivals, hero creation from concept to showcase, which is a bunch of folks behind the game, including like the art director, lead character concept artist, as well as several, I thought, maybe there's no voice cast on this, but they will talk all about Marvel Rivals. At 11:30 a.m. is Video Game Actors Unmasked, which sees performers from Helldivers 2, Call of Duty, Spider-Man series, Mass Effect 2, and Fallout 4, just talking about their craft. At 12:45 is Clash, from games to books to streaming, which is a look at Supercell's Clash of Clans, which if you guys remember the bathroom offsite last year, that was Clash of Clans. But they will be talking all about that game as well as books and other things in that world. At 2 p.m. is Brawl Stars, Welcome to Star Park, which is Supercell's other property. So Brawl Stars is the activation that actually went on up this morning, but that is another game. And they'll be talking all about that. At 3:15 is Lilo and Stitch, a look inside the continuing phenomenon, which I think is really cool. We're getting this panel because the movie's already out. That usually doesn't happen. But this is a look at the live action Lilo and Stitch, which will have Chris Sanders, who is the creator, writer, and original voice of Stitch, Maya Kaleoa, who is Lilo in the new film, Tia Carrere, who is the original voice of Nani, now playing Mrs. Kakoa, and Sydney Agudong, who is Nani in the live-action film, and they're just looking back at the new movie. At 4:30 p.m. is Lego Masters Back Behind the Brick, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's all about Legos behind the brick. Talking about that show. At 5:45 p.m. is the second Collider Ladies Night. This one is not the After Dark, but this one has guests Danielle Brooks from Peacemaker, Jennifer Holland, also from Peacemaker, and Danielle Pinnock from Ghost, as well as other special guests as they look over their careers. And then at 7 p.m. is Astounding Team-Ups in the Lumpia Deep Fried Universe. And if you guys ever saw any of the Lumpia films at Comic-Con before, this is that same group and just them talking about how they've expanded the world into comics and toys and more.
I just want to say, in the Lilo and Stitch panel is Tia Carrera, who was in Wayne's World, True Lies, tons of stuff over the years. Like, if you're old enough, that's pretty cool. I just want to put that out.
That's the big panel. That's the huge panel. You muted yourself, Carrie.
Okay. Well, yeah, there's some great stuff in this room.
But Lilo and Stitch is the one that's going to cause the big problem right in the middle of the day. So it's going to cause a bunch up before it, and then it's going to clear out after it. I don't know. This is a 2,000 seat room, but I still think it's going to be full for Lilo because we have
I do too.
It's coming off the film. We already have an announcement that they're going to be making the sequel. So and people just love Lilo and Stitch.
People love Lilo and Stitch. There's not nearly enough content like to take panels to take your kids to. So everybody's going to be like, oh, well, I'll take my family to this. Like, I'm with you. I think that's going to be packed. So what time would you line up for Lilo and Stitch?
Ooh. Let me see how many panels before that. Oh, man, I don't know.
I would be there absolutely no later than like the start of Clash of the Clans, and I might even sit in like a panel before that if I was worried.
Yeah, I think so. And of course, this is all based on what we think of how popular it's going to be, but also you can pay attention to social media on the day of, and if the room is half full during the Clash panel, head there then when you know it's empty and sit through a panel and a half and, be thankful that you got in.
I agree. I think that's going to be so big. Okay. So now it is time for Indigo.
All right. So at 10 a.m. we are starting. Oh, Indigo is 20. Oh, I already said that. 2063. That was last time. It starts off at 10 a.m. with Cartoon Network Animated Shorts Showcase. So join artists as they proudly screen their animated shorts and share their experience being a part of the Rich Studio creative legacy, which these are fun. These are always fun. And then at 11 a.m. we have Mom, Phineas and Ferb are at San Diego Comic-Con. And it has the co-creators and reunite with the cast. Doesn't list the cast, but it says it. So to talk about Phineas and Ferb and the new season. And at 12, we have Adult Swim, Haha, You Clowns series premiere. That's the name of it. And it's got Joe Kappa, and I don't know if there's cast. I think it's just talking about the show. At 1 p.m., we have Adult Swim's Rick and Morty, season 8. After a 2-year hiatus, it's back for season 8 with it has the entire voice cast, Dan Harmon and Scott Murderer. So that's probably a big deal. 2 p.m., Adult Swim's Smiling Friends, season 3 preview with Michael Cusack and Zach Hadel. And I don't see the cast, but at 3 p.m., Solar Opposites with Thomas Middleditch, Sean Yamabrone, Tiffany Haddish, and Mike Mahan, Josh Bottle, Sydney Ryan, executive producers. At 4 p.m., King of the Hill. That's a big one. Mike Judge, Greg Daniels, the showrunners, and
Saladin Patterson,
Like,
Pamela Adlin. Those are all like big names. Yeah. Toby Huss. I love Toby Huss.
thank you. And then at 8 p.m., we have the Eisner Awards. With hosted by, is it hosted by Patton also? Kevin Smith, Chase Masterston, David
Dismalchian.
Dashman, Eric Booza. You do the rest.
Eric Bauza, Janisha Adams Ginyard. I'm also saying these wrong. And Keon Young. But yeah, no, I mean, that's some huge names at the Eisners this year.
Yeah, those are all the presenters, and then the hosts is Phil Lamar and Bill Morrison.
Yes. Okay, so let's talk Indigo. So, as is pretty typical, this is the mostly animation day over at Indigo. And yeah, if you like animation, this is kind of the place to be. The good news for you is that the biggest panel that is normally in this room that packs it got an upgrade. So it is Bob's Burgers is no longer over here. So I think that's good news for Bob's fans. And good news for everybody else who's fans of these panels as well, because you're not fighting with that crowd.
So Rick and Morty and even Phineas and Ferb, I think, are going to be some pretty well attended panels.
I think so too. I think King of the Hill will be as well.
Yep. So basically, you're going to have this like lesser panel, lesser attended panel, big panel, lesser attended panel, big panel, all throughout the day. It's just up and down all day. So, I mean, show up if you have one of the big panels that you want to go to. Show up during the previous big panel and sit through the not as busy panel, because it'll be full, most likely. I mean, it's just
yeah. I mean, if I was interested in Rick and Morty, Phineas and Ferb, or King of the Hill, honestly, like I would show up. I would say at least 2 hours before.
Yeah.
I don't think any of those are going to be as bad as Bob's used to be, but there's so many like animation shows in here that I think a lot of people are just going to be camped out here all day.
So if that's the case, if it looks like whenever someone says, hey, the room cleared out and the room is still half full, that means the room's not really cleared out. That means only 1,000 people. So if the line is really long outside, not everyone's going to make it in, quite possibly. So just be prepared for keeping an eye on things, showing up at least an hour early, maybe 2, like you said, maybe more if it's getting really, really, really crowded, and go from there. Someone asked in the chat, Jean Paul asked, why is there a huge gap between King of the Hill and the Eisner Awards? It's because they have to reset the room for the Eisner Awards as more of a banquet style event, I think. So they have to move stuff around.
Yeah, that's exactly it. All right. On to Ballroom 20, which is Sarah again.
Hey, at 10 a.m., we are starting with Resident Alien, season 4 panel. I'm excited about because I just caught up on the show and I love it. And it's got Alan Tudyk, who's in everything, Sarah Tomko, Corey Reynolds, and Alice Wetterlund. And it's the new season's airing right now, so I imagine they're going to show some footage of an episode or something, but that'll be fun. Alan Tudyk's like, I've seen him in several panels, but I saw him once in a panel with Nathan Fillion, and it was just like, he's a freaking pro. He's just so good. Anyway, 11:15, TV Guide magazine fan favorite. And it doesn't say who's going to be there, but it'll be your television's fan favorites. But this is always fun. Always no matter who's there. It's a good one. And it's Q&A with all of them. And let's see, we have Primitive War at 12:15 with the cast, Ryan Quatten, Trisha Helfer, Nick Weschler, and Jeremy Piven, which those are some big names.
They are, for sure.
And they're going to show some exclusive footage of Primitive War. It is a Vietnam War thriller. Okay. That's Comic-Con. There's
There's dinosaurs. There's dinosaurs.
Oh, then never mind. At 1:30, told you I didn't read. Is Bob Odenkirk, which it's Bob just talking about his career for an hour. What more do you need? And they're also going to show some never before seen footage from his new movie, the sequel, Nobody. So, and it says expect a few surprises. So no matter what, that's going to be a great. Bob Odenkirk is incredible.
Yeah.
And at 2:30, we have the next wave of horror, Neons Together, Shelby Oaks, and Keeper, which it doesn't say anyone specifically.
So we do know several people actually. Allison Brie
Okay,
and Jay Franco will be there for Together. Tatiana Maslany will be there, and one of the hottest directors at the moment, Osgood Perkins, will be there as well. I think Osgood Perkins is almost more of a draw than the actors. But yeah,
that's awesome. And then at 5 p.m. we have a Dexter Resurrection with Michael C. Hall, producer Clyde Phillips, Scott Reynolds, other cast members James Remar, David Zayas, Jack Alcott, the other people, Kristen Ritter.
David Dismalchian. You keep skipping it, but that's a big name. Kristen Ritter, yes.
Name.
It's fine. It's fine.
Dyslexia. Anyway, that's great.
There's some really fun stuff in here. There really is. And I think there's going to be a decent amount of turnover. I think TV Guide will depend entirely upon who's on it. And we don't know the answer to that yet. But they usually get some big names.
They'll announce it, right? Usually when they know, like the day
They
of.
will, yeah. They usually announce it before then. Usually, like next week, sometime they'll like put on their social media or their site, like here's who's on our panels. But yeah, so how busy that one is will for sure depend on who is on it. I think Neon is going to be very well attended. Again, I would not underestimate horror fans at Comic-Con. And I think a lot of folks are very excited about Together. I think Allison Brie and Dave Franco are big draws on their own. I think Osgood Perkins is a huge draw. And I think Tatiana Maslany fans will also want to go see her. So I think that one is going to be packed, honestly.
And as pointed out,
Black?
Huh? Yeah. Tatiana Maslany from Orphan Black.
Name.
I know. I love her. So, no, I think, to me, like, that's the panel to beat in here for sure.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
so as we mentioned previously, since the line may have some timing issues for being able to get in the room, even if the room is not full, make sure you're showing up at least, 15 to 30 minutes before your panel?
I would say 30 minutes just to be, like, totally safe. Because, yeah, like, they load and unload these rooms like in a certain way, and if you're not there like when they're doing it, like there's problems. Or especially like if you're trying to get there, like sometimes they'll put up the thing to like block you from moving to get into the line even. So yeah, I would say 30 minutes minimum. And if you want to make it into Neon, like I would probably get there at least at the start of Bob Odenkirk, and maybe even get there sometime during Primitive War.
And someone pointed out that there is a gap between the end of Next Wave of Horror, the Neon, and Dexter. There's a 90-minute gap.
There is.
That's room for another panel that maybe we don't know yet, or something.
Trailer Park or TV Guides, Brave New Warriors, or something else. Yep, that sounds about right.
CBS Sleep Through channel.
Hey, you know what? They were for many, many years. But the last since they made Ghosts, they're like, we finally landed a show that Comic-Con attendees love, and they've done very well with Ghosts. So
that's true.
Thank you, CBS.
We love
Thank you as well for the naps for many years.
Gary can sleep anywhere. I hate it.
All right, let's move on to Hall H. This, of course, is the big room, 6,500 roughly. And it's kicking off at 10 a.m. with Stars, Outlander, a timeless look back at the iconic series and a first look at the final season. And it's got cast members Sam Hewen, Sophie Skelton, Richard Rankin, the producers, talking about the show over the last 11 years and the upcoming 8th and final season, a sneak peek. And then we have the Stars' first look at a new era with Outlander, Blood of My Blood, at 11. And again, it's the cast of Outlander: Jamie Roy, Harriet Slater, Hermione Corfield, Jeremy Irvine, Seamus McLean-Ross, Sam Redford, and Rory Alexander, along with producers, to talk about that show. And then at 12:15, we have our annual Walking Dead panel. It is Daryl Dixon Season 3. Cast and producers will discuss the upcoming 3rd season. And then at 1:25, we have The Wait Is Over, FX's Alien Earth world premiere and Q&A. And that means you are going to get to see the first episode. And then series creator Noah Hawley and executive producer David W. DeZucker will be coming out along with some cast to talk about the show. At 3 p.m., we have The Long Walk, which is based on Stephen King's first novel. It is coming to the screen thanks to director Francis Lawrence and screenwriter J.T. Molnar. Join the cast and filmmakers for an in-depth Q&A and a first look at the intense movie. And 4:15 is Predator Badlands with director Dan Trachtenberg and stars Elle Fanning and Demetrius Schuster Kolomatagi. And they're going to talk about the movie, and we're probably going to get some sneak peeks and trailers and things. And at 5:30, Tron Ares. Director Joaquin Renning is joined by cast, which I'm pretty sure we know some now that are coming.
We do. San Diego Union Tribune today said that Jeff Bridges, Jared Leto, and Evan Peters were quote unquote expected. And real quick, I wanted to say we know some of the cast as well for The Long Walk. That will be David Johnson, Tet Nyote, Garrett Warnig, Charlie Plummer, and this is a big one, Mark Hamill.
Wow. All right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And FX, cool. We know will have Timothy Oliphant. So anyway, sorry, carry on.
That's stacked for some actors there. Okay, yes. That's almost. Is that it? That's it. Yeah, that's it for the day. There's some good panels.
There's some very good panels in here, and I mean, if you like movies, that's pretty stacked at the end. In fact, as we were looking at this, I was like, wait, what movies have even been announced like that are not on this schedule? But there's like 2, so that should be on tomorrow's. So yeah, how early do we think you have to line up for this? I don't think it's going to be. Go ahead.
Outlander's going to be. I mean, I don't know numbers like you guys do, but I feel like Outlander's got to be a big deal. It's the final season. No,
it is. I do feel like, I don't know. My personal opinion is I do definitely feel like Outlander mania has like lessened over the years.
Definitely.
For sure. But I think there's so many great panels at the end of the day. The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon always has a ton of fans, but I think the big draws are the last 4 of the day, which is Alien Earth, Long Walk, Predator Badlands, and Tron Ares. Does the room ever get completely full, though?
I think it'll fill up as the day goes on, honestly. It may get close to full for The Walking Dead. Just because that's around the time that I expect a lot of people to be showing up to make sure they're in the room for the rest of the day.
I agree. So what I would do is if I wanted to see The Walking Dead, honestly, like if that was the most important thing to me that day, I would just get there for the first panel. Like, why not?
Yeah, let all the Outlanders fans fill the room, however much they're going to fill it. So show up during the first panel, get into line. You'll probably get let in during the second panel. You'll be good to go.
Yeah, I agree. If you want to see Alien, I personally think a decent amount of people will potentially leave after The Walking Dead. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's going to leave, but I think a decent amount will. So again, like I would probably plan to get in like sometime during that second stars panel. Basically like 2 panels before you want to get the one you want to get into is when I would be lining up. And then if I wanted to see any of the movies, I would be in line. Go
At
ahead.
the beginning of Walking Dead or during Walking Dead.
Yep. I agree. And as always, like keep an eye on social media. Like people might be saying like, hey, like if you were like, I really want to go to Tron, but like people are like, hey, like for Alien Earth, like it's a walk-in right now. Like, okay, maybe you don't have to worry as much, you know? But
right.
I think these are the 3 biggest movies of the week. I mean, I know Project Hail Mary is a really big deal, and obviously there are potentially movies that have not yet been announced. Maybe we'll see. But yeah, I think this is the biggest draw of Hall H of the week.
So for Outlander, I would suggest doing the thing that I mentioned for Thursday is if you have the ability on Thursday night to go get in line for wristbands, go get your wristband, go back to your hotel, go to a party, whatever you're planning to do, spend the hour or 2 it takes, whatever it takes, 3 hours to get the wristband, go enjoy the rest of your night, sleep in, get there at 7 a.m. or whatever it is that's half an hour before they say to get there, get back in line, and you're golden for the Outlander panels. I think that you'll be able to get there and walk in if you show up a couple hours before. But if you want to get the wristband, will do that.
Or again, just keep an eye on social media. Like people will for sure be sharing on social, like, hey, it's 7 a.m. They're only on C wristbands. Like keep an eye on that. If you see that, like plan to head over, like James was saying, around like 7 o'clock.
Yeah. If they're on C wristbands at night and that's all they've handed out, and they're like, there's no one else in line and they're on C, you're going to be able to get there in the morning and just go in an hour or 2 before. Yeah. If they're on D and they're still handing them out, go get in line because, you know, you can go have fun, have dinner, and then go get in line at the end of the line and get a D wristband, and you still have a wristband. It's just as good as an A wristband for everyone who leaves the line. As long as you're in before the check date or the check time, you're good to go.
I think so too. Okay, so let's talk general Friday thoughts. What are we thinking? Sarah, why don't you go first?
Thoughts or dark horse? Because I don't have any thoughts. I'm not good at that part.
Okay, all right, James. What are your thoughts?
You're like, no.
Again, it's a lot of fun and good stuff. I'm thinking that there are a few specific things that are, to me, more exciting than what we saw on Thursday, but I think that Thursday actually has a wider range of fun things that I would be more interested in across the entire schedule. But still a packed day.
I agree. I mean, for all the like hand wringing over no DC studios, no Marvel studios, blah 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 blah, I'm like, this is the great schedule. Like both of these days, I'm like, there are big movies here. Even stuff like what happened to El Bambi being like, there's gonna be no Lionsgate. Meanwhile, like here's the long walk in Hall H. Okay. So I just think it's a great year. I think this is a really good panel across everything. If you love movies, if you love TV, again, like it's definitely not the Marvel show. And if that's your thing,
good people in several panels in several rooms each day.
Yeah.
What else do you want?
Absolutely.
It's turning into. I mean, we always know that Comic-Con is the battle of choices, and it's really the schedule is really turning into a lot of really hard choices for people who are fans of even if they're fans of only like 3 or 4 different things. More often than not, those 3 or 4 things are all going to conflict, and you're going to have a headache trying to get to stuff.
Yep. Okay, so let's look at our dark horses. Sarah, do you want to go?
Well, I I had picked the actors turn,
That's fine.
and then I realized that's a bigger room. So, but I just think that's got a lot of really good people in it. I think it's going to be a good.
So too. I think
And
so too.
I love actors. They're all just interesting. I love it.
No, I agree. It's got some really good people in it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's got Patton Oswalt. It's got Undercar. I can't.
I know.
say his name unless it's in front of me. But the guy from Ghost, he's great.
And Bood
And Boots Carr. Yes.
I have it. I pulled it up how to pronounce it on Google, and I had it in a tab because I was like, I'm not going to do good with that.
You did good. You did good.
I did it.
I'm gonna go next. Mine is actually pretty freaking similar to my dark horse, the last one, which this one is Witch House, set decoration of the supernatural, which is, again, if you liked Agatha All Along or American Horror Story, Coven, it's the set decorators talking about decorating those sets for a supernatural set. So I just think that could be really fun. But that is at 2 p.m. in room 9. James?
Mine is a fun one. And it is Evel Knievel makes the death-defying leap into comics in Grand 10 and 11 over at the Marriott Marquis. It is going to be at 7 p.m. And it features publisher Ryland Grant and executive editor R.E. Nelson from Half Evil Comics, along with the son of Evel Knievel, Kelly Knievel, and founder of the museum, the Evel Knievel Museum, Joe Pennington. They're going to talk about Evel Knievel coming to a regular comic series, and they're going to show a bunch of his stunts, apparently, so you can watch all the things that he used to do and was the crazy things. I just think it's fun watching stuff like that and having just this random thing at Comic-Con that you wouldn't really expect to be at Comic-Con. I think it's pretty cool.
Kaboom! Sorry.
So a question in the chat, when do wristbands usually run out for the next day? And that all depends on how many people are in line. If there are more than 6,000 people in line, the wristbands will run out sometime after however many hours it takes them to get through those 6,000 people. If there are less than that, then it's however long it takes them to get to the end of the line. And then at a certain point, they will just stop handing out wristbands and go home because they didn't hand them all out, and then they'll just be ready to go again in the morning, I guess. I don't know. It just depends on how many people. So keep an eye, ask for help check the tag on Twitter to see what has happened, and you'll be able to see, like, hey, we're on C at midnight, and they've reached the end of the line. Well, that means there's like 1,500 to 2,000 wristbands left because they have to get through all of D as well. And if they've stopped handing them out, that means that's how much room they're going to have to open when they open the doors in the morning. So yeah, it's just, keep an eye on the hashtags and go from there. We have a question for how early to line up for Her Universe. That is over at the was it the Manchester Grand Hyatt?
Yeah, it is. MGH.
That one's always since it happens off site, it's always hard to tell what happens, but it is very popular. I've seen people lining up as early as in the morning for the 6 p.m. event or 7 p.m., whenever it is. I think it's at 6 p.m. I would say again to check it out, and I don't even know when they hand out the wristbands. They really have not.
I want to say it's 10 a.m. Let me look. I might be making that up entirely, but I thought it was 10 a.m.
People who've been there, they're saying get there early.
Wristband distribution does start at 10 a.m. However, I mean, they're even like unofficial lines before 10 a.m. Like, we are not responsible for. So people will absolutely be there before 10 a.m. Yeah.
Yes. Lots of people will be there before 10 a.m.
Yeah.
When do they give out ticks for the masquerade? They give those out on the day of the masquerade, right?
They do, yeah. It's like a booth kind of by Ballroom 20.
Right. And by booth, it's actually like one of those inset little rooms that they have like a roll-up window that you can go into. It's not a booth like the chocolate cart. It's like an actual
No.
part of the building.
Yeah.
Stacey in the chat says they started giving out wristbands before 10 last year.
So,
Probably
yeah.
because they wanted to clear the line because it was so big, I bet.
I bet you're right. So yeah, definitely get there early if you want to do for Universe.
All right.
So, James, we've got 2 more podcasts before Comic-Con this year.
We do.
The next one of which will be at this exact same time, 6:30 Pacific time on
No.
Sunday.
No. It's at
Is it
3:30.
not?
It's at 3:30 Pacific.
Oh, okay. 3:30 Pacific time. Then to talk about the Saturday and Sunday schedules. Did I even? We may have to talk about that. Yeah, and then we have another one on Tuesday next week with the folks at the Lodge and Crunchyroll to talk about the making of those events. Your graphic for Saturday and Sunday definitely still says. Okay.
We're on time.
No, you're right. You're right. I saw the 6:30 and I got very confused, but we're good.
Say it's my fault because I gave the okay on them if they're bad.
No, we're good. We're good.
All right. Yeah. So that's it, and the final 2 episodes before Comic-Con, and then we will have a wrap up episode the Tuesday after Comic-Con. If for anyone who's awake and wants to chat about it, and that's about it. So if for any questions for anyone who's joining us now or has been here and didn't hear anything, just hit rewind and go back and listen because we talked about each individual room that we went over. So if you have a question about Ballroom 20, just listen for the 2 Ballroom 20 for Thursday and Friday sections, and we'll talk about those. And you can get all the data. This will be available up on YouTube for forever.
And if you didn't hear a panel talked about, because Jorge says, what about Peacemaker? It's probably on the other days we don't have yet.
Or the offsite. Maybe
Right.
it's about the offsite. Like, are tickets still available? Some people say tickets came back.
They did come back. I think not for Saturday, but I think Thursday and Friday. Like, so I just retweeted somebody who got one like 5 minutes ago.
Cool.
So
There you go. There you go. All right. Thank you all for joining us. Thanks for tuning in for this. This is always a marathon going through this schedule and getting through it. So thank you all for
covering
tuning
the
in.
news in general. Yeah.
It starts to. We're yawning like crazy over here.
No, I'm like, it's so late. I got up at 4:30.
Oh my God.
Way to go. Sarah, where can we find you on the internet?
California privilege, time zone privilege. Sorry. Instagram during the con will be at Slacy. There's 3 S's. Slacy. Carrie, what about you? Or where can we find you on the internet other than the blog?
I mean, you can find me on the blog. I do. My personal Twitter and Instagram is Carrie Dixon, if you can spell that. But I'm basically only on there for like 5 minutes a night at the moment.
Rude. Way to shade them if you can spell it.
It is hard to spell, man. It is hard to spell. People listen though.
Which spelling of Carrie
Yes.
and which spelling of Dixon? You gotta match them all up. You gotta match the right 2.
That's right. I've had someone spell
Dixon?
my first name before, Sarah, and get 1 letter right. Like, it's hard. You don't know. You don't understand. They put C-A-R-I. I was like, you got 1 letter. Good job. Good job there.
They're to spell Dixon. 1.
D-I-C-K-S-O-N. You can spell it D-I-C-K-S-O-N.
Oh, okay, I guess I've never seen it that way. That's stupid.
I agree, but
So-
people have done it.
Sorry.
Anyway, James, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I mean, I'm
We're
everywhere.
delirious.
Yes, everywhere
Okay.
at Dan Regal, the Dan Regal on YouTube and Twitch. I'm on a podcast called Overexerted about Disney Lorcana. Thanks to Beth, she's going to edit this. thing and get it into your ears on the podcast feeds and all the other stuff that gets it done. So thank you.
We are, I don't have this pulled up. We're on iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe, links are up on the blog. You can search for SDConCast. If you like what you've heard so far, please review us. We're also on Stitcher Radio. The link is in the show notes. And if you appreciate the work that we do have a Patreon, and we would love if you would join to help keep the lights on.
If you want to get a hold of us. Yes.
You-
Sarah.
Say, I want to comment on this line in the outline. Sign up for our newsletter. We send them occasionally. Rude.
I mean, if you
No.
And
Okay.
there's 52 weeks in the year, and you only send them out for like 10 weeks. So that's occasional.
It is occasionally.
You know what
And we start these podcasts on like May 1, okay? We are not sending out newsletters on May 1.
I know. I'm just kidding because every week I'm like, oh, I forgot that. And I do. That's the joke.
We are delirious,
So-
guys.
So
Like truly just
send
bedtime.
any comments, complaints about how this show ended, or kudos to info@sdccblog.com. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/sdconblog and tweet us at sd_comic_con. Thank you all for listening. Everybody, it's time to go and take a nap.
Not a nap. Go to bed.
For you, it's a nap. You'll be up in like 5 hours,
Well, that's true.
4 hours, whatever.